Welcome to the episode. Today's question is, did López Obrador transform Mexico? Andrés Manuel López Obrador came to power promising transformation. He pledged to fight corruption, reduce inequality, strengthen institutions, and change Mexico's economic model. But when he left office, the debate remained intense. Did López Obrador transform Mexico, or did Mexico simply model through? I'm Dr. René Padilla, and welcome to Policy and Development in the Americas, where we explore and help you understand public policy, economics, and development across the Western Hemisphere. In this episode, we use a number of tables to convey the information since it is very data-driven. If you enjoyed this type of content, give the video a like, share the episode, and subscribe to the channel. In this episode, we'll examine Mexico's economic indicators before and after López Obrador. Major investments and policy priorities, corruption, judicial institutions, social programs, and wage increases. Finally, the data so you can decide whether López Obrador transformed Mexico or not. Andrés Manuel López Obrador, or AMLO as he's affectionately known in Mexico, was elected president of Mexico in July 2018 with approximately 53% of the vote, one of the largest margins in modern Mexican history. He took office on December 1st, 2018, promising what he called Mexico's fourth transformation. His priorities include fighting corruption, reducing inequality, expanding social programs, and increasing wages. Strengthening the state and reducing violence was also a priority for AMLO. We can look at the Mexico's economic indicators in 2018 before he became president, and then in 2024. We can see that GDP growth was 2.1%, and in 2024 was around 3%. GDP per capita was 9,900 in 18, and in 24 was 13,000. The poverty rate when he became president was around 42%. In 24, when he left, it was 36%. Inflation was almost 5% when he became president, and in 24 it was around 4%. Public debt, and we'll expand on this in a little bit, was in 18 44 to 45%, and in 24 it was 48 to 50%, so it grew. Unemployment was just over 3%, and in 2024 was just under 3%. The minimum wage was in 1888 pesos per day. In 2024, 248 pesos per day. Foreign investment, 34 billion in 18, and 24, 36 to 40 billion dollars. If we look at Latin America's growth during that period, Mexico grew about 1%. Latin America grew at an average of 1.3%, so he was just below the average, and emerging markets were 3.5%. When we compare the increase in public debt during this period, there are certainly some differences. If we look at Mexico, in 18, its public debt was a 45% of GDP, and in 24, it was around 49% of GDP. But to throw some perspective, we can look at Brazil's in 18 was 77%. In 24, it was around 88%. Argentina's in 18 was 86%. In 24 was around 155%. Colombia in 18 was 50%, and in 24 around 60%. Chile 28%, and in 24 39%. During AMLO's presidency, there were three main infrastructure projects that he invested in. And this was first the Maya train, which took an investment of between 20 to 30 billion dollars. It is currently partially operational. The Dos Bocas refinery at a cost of 16 to 18 billion, and it is operational and ramping up right now. In the airport in Mexico City called Felipe Angeles Airport, which took an investment of between 4 to 5 billion dollars, and it is currently operational. When we look at AMLO's telecommunications initiatives, we can see that Mexico's population is around 129 million. There was a program called Internet for All, and it benefited between 20 to 25 million people at around 97,000 communities. It required an investment of between 1.5 to 2 billion dollars, and there was also private investment from 8 to 10 billion annually. A signature program of AMLO's presidency was his Youth Building the Future program. It targeted young people between 18 and 29 years old who were not working and not studying. Participants were placed in private companies, small businesses, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations to receive on-the-job training. The participants received a monthly stipend, health insurance, and training for up to 12 months. The monthly stipend increased from approximately 3,600 pesos per month in 2019 to about 6,300 pesos per month in 24. This represented roughly 180 to 360 per month, depending on the exchange rate. In total, approximately 2.7 million young people participated in the program. The total cost of the program is estimated between 6 and 8 billion dollars. The goals of the program included reducing youth unemployment, reducing violence and crime, providing work experience, reducing inequality. The results were mixed. Some studies found improvements in youth employment and income, while others found limited long-term employment outcomes. Institutional changes became one of the most debated aspects of López Obrador's presidency. He frequently criticized Mexico's institutions, arguing they had been weakened by corruption and captured by political and economic elites. During his presidency, several institutional changes took place. His administration reduced funding for some autonomous agencies, including regulatory bodies and oversight. This included agencies responsible for transparency, competition, and electoral oversight. However, the most controversial institution issue involved the judiciary. López Obrador frequently criticized judges and courts, arguing that the judiciary protected corruption and elite interests. The debate over judicial reform became one of the defining institutional issues of his presidency. Supporters argued reforms could reduce corruption within the judiciary. Critics argued reforms could weaken judicial independence. One area where López Obrador's administration did see measurable improvement was tax collection. Total government revenue increased from approximately 22.7% of GDP to around 24% of GDP, which amounted to roughly between 10 to 20 billion dollars in additional revenue annually. This suggests improved tax collection may have been one measurable institutional outcome of López Obrador's administration. We're going now to look at the corruption rankings in Latin America. It shows that Uruguay is the least corrupt government. Brazil, 105 and 18, and 104 and 23, and Mexico, 138 and 18, and 126 and 23. So there was some good improvement in those measures. Okay, we can look at the final summary now, and we can see that in 18, Poverty was around 42% in Mexico, and in 24 it was around 36%, so there was some good improvement in that metric. Minimum wage in 18 was $4.40 per day, and in 24 was $14.50 per day, so that is a significant improvement from 18 to 24. GDP per capita in 18 was 9,900, and in 24 it was 13,000. That is another significant improvement. Public debt, as we saw before, 45% in 18, 49% in 24. We also look at some context about that in another table. Foreign investment went from 34 billion in 18 to 36 to 40 in 2024. So now, these are the numbers. AMLO governed during a global pandemic, supply chain disruptions, nearshoring opportunities. The data presents the outcomes. Whether that represents transformation, it's up to you. Remember that it's not about believing what we want to believe. It is about knowing what we need to know. See you next week.